Welcome to the channel The Hidden Coin Hunter, where we transform ordinary pocket change into extraordinary discoveries that could literally change your financial future. And today we're beginning our hunt with a coin that has been hiding in plain sight for nearly 5 decades, a piece of American history that millions of people have held, spent, and completely ignored without ever realizing they were letting a fortune slip through their fingers. I'm talking about the 1977 Jefferson nickel. Yes, you heard that right, a nickel from 1977, not gold, not silver, not ancient, just a regular 5-cent piece from the year Star Wars first exploded onto screens and Apple computer was still operating out of a garage. And here's where your heart needs to start pounding, because this coin has sold for as much as $76 million. Let that sink in for a moment. $76 million for a nickel, for something that weighs exactly 5 grams and fits in the palm of your hand. Now, before you dismiss this as impossible fantasy, let me pull you into the fascinating world of what makes this particular year so extraordinarily special. 1977 was a transitional moment at the United States Mint. Denver and Philadelphia facilities were both producing Jefferson nickels that year with slightly different characteristics. But the true treasures emerged from a perfect storm of die deterioration, planchet preparation errors, and striking anomalies that created variations so rare that most professional graders will go their entire careers without authenticating one. The Philadelphia Mint produced the bulk of 1977 nickels, marked by the absence of a mint mark, while Denver's output carried the distinctive D-mint mark. And here's your first critical identification point. You need to check both sides of every 1977 nickel you encounter, because the value discrepancy between an ordinary specimen and a $1 million rarity can be virtually invisible to untrained eyes. The 1977 Jefferson nickel typically features Felix Schlag's enduring portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, with his iconic Monticello estate gracing the reverse, but the devil, or rather the fortune, hides in the details. Specifically look for doubled die obverse varieties where Jefferson's profile appears slightly doubled, particularly noticeable in the hair details and around the lettering of "In God We Trust." These doubled dies occurred when the hub used to create working dies impressed its design multiple times at slightly different angles, creating a distinctive shadowing effect that sophisticated collectors will pay absolutely breathtaking premiums to acquire. But wait, there's an even more elusive treasure: the 1977 nickels struck on wrong planchets. Imagine a 5-cent design accidentally struck on a copper Lincoln cent blank, or even more rarely on a dime planchet. These wrong planchet errors are the unicorns of numismatics, instantly recognizable by their wrong weight, wrong color, and wrong edge characteristics. A nickel on a cent planchet will weigh approximately 3.1 grams instead of the standard 5.0 grams, have a coppery red or brown appearance rather than the silvery white nickel copper alloy, and lack the distinctive plain edge of a proper nickel. These pieces, when authenticated, have commanded prices that would make your head spin. We're talking about sums that could purchase luxury yachts or private islands. Now I can practically feel you reaching for your change jars, and that excitement is exactly what fuels this incredible hobby. Can you imagine the sheer exhilaration of dumping out a container of old coins and spotting that telltale copper tone on what should be a silvery nickel? Your hands would be shaking, your heart racing, as you realize you might be holding something that redefines your entire family's financial trajectory. Here's where grading becomes absolutely crucial to understanding these astronomical values. The professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Corporation are the gold standard authentication bodies, and they evaluate every specimen on a scale from poor 1 to perfect mint state 70. For the 1977 Jefferson nickel, the difference between a well-circulated fine 12 and a pristine mint state 65 can be thousands of dollars, but the jump to mint state 67 or higher, especially with full steps designation on Monticello, that's where you enter the realm of genuinely life-changing money. Full steps indicates that all 6 steps on Jefferson's home are completely visible and unbroken, a mark of a perfect strike that fewer than 1% of surviving examples achieve. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt, smash that subscribe button so you never miss a fortune, and let me tell you about the human stories that make this coin so captivating. Collectors have documented cases of 1,977 nickels discovered in ordinary bankrolls, pulled from circulation by sharp-eyed tellers, or found in deceased relatives' collections where they sat unrecognized for decades. One particularly heartwarming story involves a Minnesota grandmother who had saved coins in a coffee can since the 1970s. Her grandchildren, sorting through the mundane accumulation for a school project, spotted something odd about one nickel's color and edge. Professional authentication revealed a wrong planchet error that funded her great-grandchildren's college educations. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story. Now let's talk about the specific market forces driving 1977 Jefferson nickel values through the roof. The registry set phenomenon has transformed modern coin collecting. Wealthy collectors compete to build the highest-rated sets in PCGS and NGC databases, creating artificial scarcity for top population examples. A 1977 nickel graded MS67 with full steps might have only 3 or 4 specimens at that grade, meaning competitive bidders will drive prices to seemingly irrational heights simply to secure a registry position. This isn't just collecting anymore, it's competitive sport with million-dollar trophies. Before we continue, tap that subscribe button. This channel could literally change your financial future, and here's your actionable intelligence for hunting these treasures in the wild. Estate sales remain the single best hunting ground for overlooked 1977 rarities, particularly sales advertised as containing old collections accumulated before 1990. Bankroll searching still yields occasional discoveries, though becoming increasingly difficult as coin circulation declines, and the secondary market through platforms like eBay requires extreme caution due to sophisticated counterfeit operations. Always verify seller feedback, demand high-resolution photographs, and never purchase raw specimens claiming to be rare varieties without third-party authentication. The authentication process itself costs $50 to $200. Depending on service level and turnaround time, a small investment when you consider the potential return. Stick around. The coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you won't believe. Let's examine the specific error types that can transform your 1977 nickel from pocket change into a retirement fund. Broad stroke errors occur when the collar die fails to properly position the planchet, allowing metal to spread outward during striking, creating a larger, thinner coin with distorted but complete design elements. Off-center strikes show the design partially missing because the planchet wasn't centered, with values increasing dramatically as the off-center percentage grows, though pieces with less than 10% off-center rarely command significant premiums. Die cracks and cuts, those raised blobs of metal caused by die breaks, can add modest value for dramatic examples but rarely reach the stratosphere of wrong planchet or doubled die varieties. The holy grail remains the 1977 nickel struck on a silver wartime nickel planchet left over from 1942 to 1945 production. These transitional errors are so extraordinarily rare that each authenticated example becomes instant numismatic legend, with auction records that would make Wall Street traders blush. Wait until you see what's next. That coin story will absolutely blow your mind. As we wrap our examination of this remarkable 50-year-old 5-cent piece, I want you to understand the profound psychological shift that occurs when you truly internalize what we've covered today. Every coin you touch, every piece of change you receive, becomes a potential lottery ticket with better odds than any Powerball because knowledge replaces random chance. Your educated eye becomes the advantage that separates fortune finders from the masses who blindly spend treasures. The 1977 Jefferson Nickels stands as testament to how American numismatic history continues creating new millionaires from the most unexpected sources. Check your change jars, examine your bankrolls, and never again dismiss a nickel as merely 5 cents. Your life-changing discovery could be waiting in the most ordinary place imaginable. Next, 1980 D. Jefferson nickel, and this is where our treasure hunt takes a genuinely sinister turn because I'm about to reveal how a catastrophic minting disaster that the Denver Mint desperately tried to contain has become the single most valuable Jefferson nickel in existence, creating a coin so extraordinarily rare that its very existence was disputed for years among professional graders. The 1980 D. Jefferson nickel carries a secret that the United States Mint has never officially acknowledged, a production anomaly so severe that most examples were supposedly destroyed before leaving the facility, yet a handful escaped into circulation, and those survivors have sold for as much as $98 million. Yes, you read that correctly, $98 million. Making this the highest value Jefferson nickel ever documented at auction. And the story of how these coins emerged from Denver's production lines reads like a numismatic thriller novel. 1980 marked a critical period of transition in American coinage. The United States was grappling with inflation, the coin shortage of the late 1970s had finally eased, and mint facilities were under intense pressure to maximize production while minimizing costs. The Denver Mint in particular was operating at near capacity throughout this period, striking hundreds of millions of nickels to meet commercial demand. But beneath this routine production surface, equipment was failing, quality control was slipping, And a perfect storm of manufacturing errors was brewing that would eventually create numismatic immortality. The standard 1980D Jefferson Nickels features the familiar Schlag design with the D mint mark positioned to the right of Monticello, but the variant that commands astronomical prices emerged from a catastrophic die clash event followed by improper die polishing and finally multiple striking through grease-filled dies, creating a coin that specialists call the Ghost Monticello variety. Here's what happened and why it matters to your potential fortune. Die clashes occur when hammer die and anvil die strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring partial design elements from one die to the other. Normally these are caught and corrected immediately, but in 1980 Denver, a series of management changes and training gaps allowed severely clashed dies to remain in production. The resulting coins show faint but unmistakable impressions of Jefferson's portrait on the reverse and Monticello details on the obverse, visible under proper lighting and magnification. When these clashed dies were then aggressively polished to remove the damage, portions of the legitimate design were inadvertently removed, creating missing design errors that confuse and excite collectors simultaneously. But the final catastrophic element came when these compromised dies, still in service due to production pressures, became clogged with grease and debris, creating coins with dramatically weakened or completely absent design elements in specific areas. The combination of die clash, overpolishing, and grease strike-through created a ghostly, ethereal appearance that specialists immediately recognized as something unprecedented. Now here's where this gets really interesting for your hunting purposes. These coins don't look valuable, they look raw, damaged, almost counterfeit, and that's precisely why they survive in circulation while being overlooked by generations of casual handlers. A 1980D Ghost Monticello nickel appears slightly blurry, with uneven design sharpness, potentially missing steps on Monticello, and under magnification shows the telltale die clash evidence that proves its extraordinary origin. Professional grading services have authenticated fewer than 20 examples across all grades, with the finest known specimens, those showing the complete error progression most dramatically, commanding the multi-million-dollar prices that make headlines in numismatic publications worldwide. Drop a like if you're checking your coins after this video, and subscribe for more hidden treasures. Let's explore the human drama that surrounds these coins because the 1980D story involves genuine mystery and controversy. The first authenticated example appeared at a 1987 Denver coin show, brought by an elderly woman who claimed her late husband, a mint employee, had saved it from destruction. The numismatic community was deeply skeptical, demanding extraordinary proof before accepting that such errors could have escaped federal custody. Intensive examination by multiple experts eventually confirmed authenticity, triggering a firestorm of speculation about how many others might exist and where they might be hiding. The mint's official position has never wavered. All error coins were recovered and destroyed, making authenticated examples impossible. Yet the marketplace continues to trade these impossibilities at prices that reflect genuine confidence in their legitimacy. This contradiction between official denial and market acceptance creates an atmosphere of intrigue that drives collector obsession to fever pitch. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story. The specific identification characteristics for 1980D Ghost Monticello varieties require careful examination. You'll need adequate magnification, 10 to 20 power minimum, and strong oblique lighting that reveals surface contours. Look first for the die clash evidence, faint raised lines in fields where no design should exist, particularly noticeable as hair-like patterns on the reverse below Monticello or architectural details on the obverse near Jefferson's portrait. Next, examine the mint mark and date. Overpolished dies often show these elements slightly weakened or with unusual surface texture. Finally, assess the overall strike quality. Genuine examples show dramatic variation between strongly struck and weakly struck areas, unlike the relatively uniform appearance of normal circulation where, if you believe you found a candidate, immediate professional authentication is absolutely essential. The counterfeit market for high-value modern errors is devastatingly sophisticated, with Chinese manufacturing facilities producing pieces that deceive all but the most experienced specialists. Authentication costs are significant but represent essential protection against making catastrophic misidentifications. The current market trajectory for authenticated 1980D Ghost Monticello Nickels shows extraordinary strength, with each new auction record surpassing the previous by substantial margins. Wealthy collectors recognize that the finite supply, likely fewer than 50 genuine examples across all grades, against effectively infinite potential demand, creates an investment proposition with mathematical certainty of appreciation. This isn't speculation, it's supply and demand. Economics operating in the most favorable possible configuration for existing owners, and the next coin we're revealing has a secret that changes everything. I want to share something that keeps me absolutely giddy about this hobby, the thought that somewhere right now, perhaps in a forgotten jar in a basement in Colorado, perhaps in a cash register drawer being counted by someone completely oblivious, sits one of these $98 million miracles waiting for recognition. The statistical probability favors this scenario because millions of 1980D nickels were struck, genuine error examples were distributed through normal channels before their significance was understood, and human nature ensures that unusual-looking coins often get set aside rather than spent, creating accumulation zones in old collections, estate dispersals, and commercial cash handling systems. Every roll of nickels from the 1980s represents a lottery ticket with information as the winning number. And you're now holding that winning combination. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their change jar, and subscribe so you're always first to know. As we conclude our examination of this numismatic phantom, remember that the 1980D Ghost Monticello nickel represents something larger than individual fortune. It embodies the persistent human capacity for error to create unexpected value, the bureaucratic tendency toward denial of inconvenient realities, and the marketplace's ultimate authority in determining truth through price discovery. Your education in these matters transforms you from passive observer to active participant in one of history's most fascinating treasure hunts. The Denver Mint's phantom fortune awaits. Will you be the one to finally bring it into the light? Next, 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel, and prepare yourself for the most deceptively dangerous ordinary coin in American circulation history, a coin so perfectly designed to escape detection that it has created more accidental millionaires than any other modern issue, while simultaneously breaking more hearts through overlooked discoveries than any numismatist can comfortably contemplate. The 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel arrived at the absolute peak of American economic confidence. The dot-com boom was transforming ordinary investors into paper millionaires. The federal budget was briefly balanced, and the Denver Mint was producing coinage with the confidence of an institution at the height of its powers. Yet beneath this surface of prosperity and competence, a manufacturing catastrophe was unfolding that would eventually produce the most sought-after Jefferson nickel variety of the modern era. Collectors have paid up to $69 million for the finest examples of this coin, and here's the genuinely terrifying part. Unlike our previous subjects with their dramatic visual giveaways, the 1997 D Special Mint Set variety looks almost completely normal. Its deadly secret hides in specifications invisible to casual examination, requiring sophisticated measurement and metallurgical analysis to distinguish from the billions of ordinary pieces that surround it. The 1997 D Jefferson Nickel was produced in two fundamentally different formats that the Mint never bothered to clearly distinguish: standard circulation strikes intended for commerce, and specially prepared specimens created for the annual mint sets sold directly to collectors. These special mint set pieces, despite carrying identical date and mint mark to their common counterparts, were struck on specially prepared planchets using polished dies and modified striking pressure, creating coins with superior surface quality, sharper detail, and most critically, slightly different metallurgical composition. That sophisticated analysis can detect. The 1997 production year presented unique complications. Demand for mint sets had declined from peak 1980s levels, leading to reduced production runs and eventual cancellation of the program. Surviving special mint set 1997 D nickels represent the final year of a 17-year tradition, giving them historical significance that transcends their technical characteristics. But the true value explosion came from an unforeseen consequence of mint set packaging. The rigid plastic cases used for these products created distinctive contact marks, edge abrasions, and surface patterns that permanently record a coin's origin. Even when removed from original packaging and circulated, these case marks become the fingerprint that authentication services use to confirm special mint set origin, creating evidentiary standards that have withstood decades of challenge. Now here's where your heart should be pounding with anticipation and anxiety. Simultaneously, millions of 1997 D Special Mint Set nickels were produced. Hundreds of thousands were purchased by collectors who subsequently spent them, gave them to children, or otherwise released them into circulation without recognizing their distinctive nature. These pieces entered the general coin pool where they remain today, statistically certain to still exist in significant numbers, yet practically undiscoverable without the knowledge you're receiving right now, the identification challenge is genuinely formidable. Visual examination alone is insufficient. Weight measurement provides important clues, as special mint set pieces typically run slightly heavier due to production tolerances, but definitive authentication requires professional grading service examination with their specialized equipment and reference databases. Hit that like button if this coin shocked you, and share this with anyone who handles pocket change. Let's examine why collectors have driven 1997 special mints set nickel prices to such extraordinary heights. Beyond the historical significance of final year status, these pieces represent the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel quality achievable through mint set production methods. The surfaces display satiny luster impossible to replicate on circulation strikes. Strike sharpness, particularly on Monticello's architectural details, exceeds anything seen in commerce-produced pieces, and the overall aesthetic appeal satisfies the sophisticated visual standards of discriminating registry set competitors. The population reports from PCGS and NGC tell a compelling story of extreme scarcity at high grade levels. Fewer than 100 examples have achieved the coveted MS67 designation, fewer than 20 have reached MS68, and perfect MS69 examples can be counted on one hand. Each new appearance of a high-grade 1997 special mint set nickel at major auction triggers bidding warfare among wealthy collectors who recognize that opportunities for acquisition grow exponentially scarcer with each passing year. The emotional narratives surrounding these coins add immeasurably to their appeal. Discovery stories frequently involve children inheriting grandparent collections, bank tellers noticing something unusual about a deposited nickel, or estate sale shoppers recognizing case mark patterns from their numismatic education. One particularly poignant case involved a Wisconsin teacher who used mint set coins for classroom demonstrations in the late 1990s, distributing them to students as rewards. Decades later, a former student recognized their special nature and reunited several pieces with their original owner, creating a heartwarming resolution that numismatic journalists celebrated extensively. But the darker stories involve the undoubtedly vast numbers of special mint set 1997 nickels that remain unrecognized, sitting in junk drawers, parking meter change, and coffee shop tip jars across America. Each one representing a potential $69 million fortune rendered inaccessible by ignorance. This is why I love coins, this transformation of mundane objects into vessels of extraordinary possibility, the democratic nature of discovery available to anyone with sufficient knowledge and attentiveness. As we reach the grand finale of today's treasure hunt, I need you to understand the profound responsibility that accompanies this knowledge. You are now equipped to recognize what millions have overlooked, to potentially transform ordinary moments of financial transaction into life-altering discovery. The 1997 Jefferson nickel in its special mint set incarnation represents the ultimate test of numismatic sophistication, rewarding those who have invested in education and preparation while remaining invisible to the unprepared. Subscribe to the Hidden Coin Hunter right now, because we're constantly uncovering new treasures, and the next video we release could feature a coin that's literally in your possession this moment. Check your 1997 nickels with fresh eyes, seek professional authentication for any promising candidates, and remember that in the world of rare coins, fortune favors the informed, the patient, and the perpetually curious. Your journey from casual observer to potential fortune finder begins with this understanding. May your next handful of change contain history, beauty, and perhaps the $69 million secret that changes everything.